Good evening, class. Welcome you all. So today we have a very important lecture. That is lecture 3 of Indian Penal Code. And this lecture deals with general exceptions which are mentioned in chapter 4. So general exceptions किस chapter में है? Yes, right. Chapter 4. So chapter 4 of Indian Penal Code deals with various defenses. So इसमें defenses दिए गए हैं which a person accused of offence under the code or any special or local law can plead. So this chapter have variant defenses जो accused को मिलते हैं जब वो इस कोड में कुछ गलत करता है, प्लीड करता है अपना, या फिर किसी स्पेशल या लोकल लॉ में डिफेंस प्लीड करता है. So there are various grounds on which defenses can be pleaded by the accused. Okay. So it is important from the point of view of criminal responsibility because sections contained in it control all the other section defining offenses. So it is ये बहुत ज़्यादा complicated हो जाता हम लोगों के लिए कि हर सेक्शन में अगर एक्सेप्शंस को डिफाइन करा जाता. सो जो हमारा लेजिस्लेचर था उसने डायरेक्टली एक जनरल एक्सेप्शंस करके चैप्टर बना दिया. सो सारी एक्सेप्शंस उसमें देती और इसका एक डिक्लेरेटरी सेक्शन भी है दैट इज सेक्शन 6 ऑफ इंडियन पीनल कोड. इसलिए हमने ऑल टुगेदर सारी जनरल एक्सेप्शंस का एक चैप्टर बना के उसको अलग से रख दिया. अब देयर इज़ अ नो नीड कि हम हर सेक्शन में उसकी एक्सेप्शन दें, बट जहाँ पर भी एक्सेप्शन अट्रैक्ट हो रही हैं वहाँ पर हम सीधे जनरल एक्सेप्शंस पे आ जाते हैं. So every definition of offense, every penal provision and every illustration of a definition or penal provision shall be construed subject to the provision contained in this chapter. So this is quite simple. IPC में जो भी definitions हैं, जो भी penal provisions हैं and every illustration of a definition or penal provision, so all illustrations as well. So the definitions, the provisions and the illustrations जो IPC में हैं shall be construed subject to the provisions contained in this chapter. So I had already told you कि ये जो exceptions हैं हमारी we don't need now. Okay, so now we are discussing burden of proof because this आपको ये concept अपना clear करना पड़ेगा in order to understand general exceptions is a better way. So now, yes students, let's come to the burden of proof. So, the general rule is that it is the duty of the prosecution to prove the prisoner's guilt, and if at the end of and on the whole of the case, there is a reasonable doubt created by the evidence given by either the prosecution or the prisoner or the petitioner as to whether the accused had committed the offence or not, or the prisoner is entitled to acquittal on the ground of benefit of doubt. So this is quite simple. General rule क्या है कि it is the duty of the prosecution की duty है कि वो accused की guilt को prove करे beyond reasonable doubt. So this is the cardinal principle that the criminal liability must be proved beyond reasonable doubt. Yes, right. So there is a reasonable doubt. If there is a reasonable doubt कि accused का by the deficiency of evidence, this is mentioned here, then accused को हम लोग acquittal दे सकते हैं और ये दिया जाता है उसको benefit of doubt मिलता है, acquittal on the ground of benefit of doubt. So ये benefit of doubt वाला issue शिवाजी versus State of Maharashtra, that is a very important and a leading judgment. In this case, Justice Krishna Iyer commenting on the rule that benefit of doubt should always be given to the accused. So benefit of doubt हमेशा accused को देना चाहिए. इसके पीछे एक rationale है which I told you earlier. The rationale is criminal liability must be proved beyond doubt. So this is quite simple from this point of view. Okay. Now let's move forward. Okay, class. Now concentrate on this. There are various kinds of acts, that is exceptions, done under the circumstances mentioned in section 76 and 106. So बहुत सारी exceptions हैं जो mention करी गई हैं 76 to 106 तक, which will not amount to offences under this code. So वो offences ही होंगे because there is a defense for that, and there is a declaratory section also, that is section 6 of Indian Penal Code, जो कहता है कि यहाँ पर हर प्रोविजन के नीचे हमें जनरल एक्सेप्शंस को लिखने की ज़रूरत नहीं है, और जब ऐसा कुछ होगा जहाँ जनरल एक्सेप्शंस अट्रैक्ट करेंगी अक्यूज द्वारा, तो वो सेक्शंस वहाँ से रीड कर लिए जाएंगे. ओके, दिस इज़ क्वाइट क्लियर. अदरवाइज़ हमारा जो एक्ट होता इंडियन पीनल कोड बहुत ज़्यादा वॉल्यूमिनस हो जाता, बहुत ज़्यादा बड़ा हो जाता. ओके, नाउ मिस्टेक ऑफ फैक्ट. सो मिस्टेक ऑफ फैक्ट is mentioned under section 76 and 79. Judicial acts are mentioned in section 77 and 78. And there is another, that is a third exception, that is accident, which is mentioned under section 80. So this is accident. And there is a fourth exception. Yes, right. So absence of criminal intention, that is section 81 to 86 and 92 to 94. So this is the exceptions which is related to absence of criminal intention. And there is another exception, that is act done by consent, that is mentioned in section 87 to 91. And there is a trifling act as well, that is a sixth exception which is mentioned in section 95. Like आप किसी की रबर चुरा लो being a student, या आपकी कोई रबर चुरा ले या पेंसिल चुरा ले, तो these type of acts come under the trifling issues. And the other exception is private defense. So this is a very important exception which give you right to protect your body and property. So we will learn these exceptions in the tomorrow class, and these exceptions are very important for the better understanding of the IPC. So I would like to give you another concept, and we will discuss these exceptions in detail in the tomorrow class. So this is just a paragraph which I want to make you understand, because this is a conceptual part and it is a very important part. So you must understand this. So now the onus, जो जिम्मेदारी है, that is onus of proving exceptions lies on the accused. अगर accused ने किसी भी exception को attract किया है या उसका act किसी exception में आ रहा है, तो उसको साबित करने का जो onus है वो accused के पास है, who has to prove the circumstances bringing the case within any of the general exceptions. So accused को prove करना पड़ेगा कि that his case comes under the general exceptions. So the court shall presume the absence of such circumstances. यहाँ पर court neutral होगा and the court will presume that there is an absence of such circumstances. Okay, this is quite clear. And the prosecution has to prove the guilt of the accused. You know that in the criminal liability, the prosecution have to prove the guilt of the accused beyond reasonable doubt. So, for example, thus A. So, there is an example. Yes. Okay. Thus A. Wait for a second. Thus A accused of murder. A is accused of murder, alleges that by reason of unsoundness of mind, he did not know the nature of the act. The burden of proof is on A. अब A को prove करना पड़ेगा कि बाय रीजन ऑफ अनसाउंडनेस ऑफ माइंड उसको एक्ट का नेचर नहीं समझ आया कि वट एवर ही इज डूइंग इट इज फॉरबिडन बाय लॉ या इट विल गिव अ इंजरी, इट विल गिव अ फैटल ब्लो टू द अदर पर्सन. सो द बर्डन किस पे आएगा? अक्यूज पे. इज द अक्यूज्ड. इट मे बी नोटेड unlike the prosecution which has to prove the charge beyond the reasonable doubt, the accused have to show preponderance of probability. So here the liability on the accused is very lighter as compared to the prosecution. Prosecution को क्या करना होता है बच्चों के? They have to prove criminal liability beyond the reasonable doubt. But here accused को सिर्फ प्रीपॉन्डरेंस ऑफ प्रोबेबिलिटीज को दिखाना होता है. एंड व्हाट इज प्रीपॉन्डरेंस ऑफ प्रोबेबिलिटी? दैट इज डिग्री ऑफ सर्टेनिटी ऑफ बिलीव इन द माइंड ऑफ ट्रिब्यूनल और कोर्ट बाय विच इट इज कन्विंस्ड दैट एग्जिस्टेंस ऑफ फैक्ट इज मोर प्रोबेबल देन इट्स नॉन एग्जिस्टेंस. इस प्रीपॉन्डरेंस ऑफ प्रोबेबिलिटी क्या होती है कि कोई अगर एक प्रूडेंट पर्सन है वो ऐसे फैक्ट्स में ये सोचे कि जो एग्जिस्टेंस है फैक्ट की वो एग्जिस्टेंस है जो फैक्ट की वो प्रोबेबल है या जो नॉन एग्जिस्टेंस है फैक्ट की वो ज़्यादा प्रोबेबल है. तो ऐसे केसेस में प्रीपोंडेंस ऑफ प्रोबेबिलिटी जब क्लेम करता है एक अक्यूज तो कोर्ट ये देखता है कि ये प्रोबेबिलिटी है ऐसा हुआ होगा फैक्ट्स या ऐसा नहीं हुआ होगा. और अगर कोर्ट को लगता है जनरल नोट पे एज अ प्रूडेंट पर्सन कि ऐसा नहीं हुआ होगा तो बेनिफिट ऑफ डाउट अक्यूज को मिल जाता है. होप दिस इज वेरी क्लियर फ्रॉम द this point of view. Okay, so you have to remember this concept of preponderance of probabilities that always favor the accused, and the prosecution have to prove the criminal liability have to prove the criminal liability beyond reasonable doubt. And this is quite clear from the lecture 1 as well, IPC, जिसमें हमने मैनसीरिया और एक्टस रियस पढ़ा था. That is also revolve around the same thing. So this is the basic introduction of the general exceptions, and we will read them in a very exhaustive way in the tomorrow class. Okay, thank you. Okay, take care.